You've done the right thing. You've insulated your ceiling. You've insulated your underfloor. But you're still cold. Best you finish the job. And to match your walls.
Jolly good. Well, he's a busy man, isn't he, David Seymour? Welcome, David. Welcome, Deputy Prime Minister David Seymour.
Oh, hey, Sean. It's good to be back, and I'm really sorry. You text me about this, and my boss has been away over the weekend, so it didn't get in my calendar.
Oh, good Lord. Okay, that's all right.
Yeah,
well,
yes, I'm sorry
good
about
that you could join us. Does it feel any different being Deputy
Not
Prime?
really, to be honest.
And you don't change offices or anything, do you?
No, I've just changed title, and my seat will move a few steps over, but other than that, it's still about saving money, cutting red
in the
tape,
house.
and
Oh,
trying
you
to
do
make kids
move
go
in
to
the
school.
house? You do sit next to Lux?
Yeah, that's...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the plan, yeah.
Do the rest of your MPs move or not?
Most of them, but because ACT is a bit bigger than New Zealand First, there's not enough room for all of us, so we're going to have two spots.
Who didn't make the meeting? Who didn't get the memo? Who's out?
Well, there's 8 of them and 11 of us, and if we all moved over, we'd kind of be dominating the end of Parliament around Luxon and Co. So we said, okay, we'll do 8 like New Zealand First did, and then we'll have a few of us at the other end.
All right. Well, that'll make not a blind bit of difference to most New Zealanders because they probably wouldn't know the Parliamentary debating chamber if it jumped up and bit them on the bum. Look, I want to talk about an event over the weekend that you, unlike even one of the protagonists in it, came out and said something about. These music awards. And you are someone who's talked about the rising of an ethnic state in New Zealand, or an ethno-state, and the danger that represents to democracy. Were you surprised to see at a taxpayer-funded award event funded by New Zealand On Air, Te Mangai Pāhu, and a whole bunch of other government agencies, were you surprised to see a copyrighted flag representing a separatist sovereignty movement aligned with a extreme political party? Were you surprised to see that waved on stage as part of a performance?
No, not at all. And look, I wouldn't blame some musician for being part of that. I mean, most of the musicians I like actually have quite offensive views. Eric Clapton has said some terrible, terrible things, but he's still one of the best guitarists of the 20th century. And Mark Knopfler apparently reads The Guardian, but you can't beat his songwriting. So, look, I try and separate that out. I think the real problem is not that musicians have silly views. That's always been the case. The real problem is that these views have become so prevalent in New Zealand that there is now there's a significant group of New Zealanders whose main commitment is not to the New Zealand state and making this country a success, but rather to their ethnic group. And what's more, they're not afraid of saying that the source of their problems in life is actually other ethnic groups. Now, this is something that hasn't got a particularly good history. It's amazing the way it is tolerated, and particularly amazing that it's tolerated as that party is increasingly violent in its rhetoric. I am constantly astonished by this. It's also one of the reasons that there is so little trust and confidence in the media, because people are either oblivious to this or they're aware through other sources and just bewildered that the media won't go and take them on.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, the media were quite happy to jump into the New Zealand Music Awards controversy, side with Don McGlashan and Stan Walker, and pile on Chris Bishop, who said what I imagine you might have said if you'd been at that event.
Yeah, well, look, I just make the point. The pile on Chris again, this is why people don't trust the press, because it's so one-sided. And I just think, Fish is probably right, a hard-working guy, and sitting there at the end of a long week watching all this, crap, and it's what he said, good on him. But I did find that the pile on that pretty amazing, yeah.
Yeah. But interestingly, he is then, and one cannot help but get the feeling at the instruction of his boss, Chris Luxon, he says, I shouldn't have said it out loud. And we find out Chris Luxon says he shouldn't have said it out loud. I put it to you, David Seymour, that the whole point in fighting a culture war, the whole point of politics and open democracy as freedom of speech is that you aren't afraid to say what you think out loud. And isn't it a damning indictment of your National Party coalition partner that they have a culture where you don't say what you think out loud?
Well, I can't speak to that. I don't know.
Well, you can speak to that. You can speak to that. You can have an opinion on the moral fortitude of a coalition partner.
Well, I can't in this case because you're asking me, have the two Chris's talked? What's the purpose? The only thing I would
No. Do you think we should live in a society where you can say what you think?
Yeah, of course, you know that.
Okay. Are you disappointed then that Chris Bishop, apparently at the behest of his boss, Chris Luxon, says, I shouldn't have said what I thought out loud?
Well, that's my point. I don't know if it's at the behest of his boss or not. That's what I'm not.
Take out the Chris Luxon bit. Are you disappointed that Chris Bishop has apologised for saying what he thought out loud?
No, because he hasn't actually apologised. If you think about what he said, it's a pretty soft retraction. On reflection, I should have kept my thoughts to myself. What he's been really clear about is that those are still his thoughts. It's just he probably wishes people hadn't heard it and we didn't have this beat up. So in a way, Chris has stood by his thoughts and good on him.
Okay. Well, it comes down to, I think, another underlying tension for the coalition, and we're now into the last half of this government's life, this coalition administration's life. We've had the Prime Minister say, I'm going to call out Maorification when I see it. But the truth is he's not, Mr. Seymour. We talked early last week on this show about a new $11 million fund being administered by MB to supposedly encourage the Maori economy, whatever that is, and encourage Maori science. And I think it's been pretty well established with anyone with half a brain that there's science, there's not a particular Maori science. If the government isn't going to stop that sort of ethno-funding, is it really delivering? Are you really delivering on what you promised people who voted for you at the last election?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, there's an element of whack-a-mole. I mean, just a few months ago, I saw some job advertisements from Farmac saying that they're going to hire people on certain bases. Needless to say, that those job ads were changed pretty quickly. It's also true that they've been putting a lot of stuff on their website. I'm responsible for this Crown entity. We're working through that, through their board with their new management. That's been changed. So look, there's still a lot of stuff going on that really annoys people. I'm annoyed about the University of Auckland, but I also don't want to live in a country where politicians tell universities.
Okay, are you annoyed about all the funding going to the New Zealand Music Awards from New Zealand On Air and Te Mangai Pāhu to encourage party political rallies at award evenings?
Well, just a second. Let's come back. I mean, we can have a debate about whether the taxpayer should be funding music awards, but if you're going to have a music awards, then you have to support artists' freedom of expression. My real issue is not the artists are talking about it. My issue is that this whole belief system has got such common currency in New Zealand. That's the real problem here.
Well, it's got common currency, David Seymour, because politicians have allowed, abetted or not stopped taxpayers' use of funds to brainwash, propagandise people and create agitprop.
Yeah, but there's two sides to this, Sean, which is that, we could say we are going to be as bad as the other guys and give taxpayer funding only if you say what we like. We could do it to universities, we could do it to the music awards, and there are people who want that. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be out of politics. Probably for at least 50 years, I'm going to live in this country out of politics. And what I want to leave behind is a democratic society where people have free expression no matter who's in power. So we've got to think about that.
Okay.
Second of all, on this thing that I do want to address, this Maori economy funding, we've had that debate internally. And the way I look at it is, and I've debated this with Tama Potaka, when he talks about the Maori economy, if he's talking about Maori land, that is a specific type of land with its own ownership structure. That's a real thing. If he's talking about post-settlement governance entities, i.e. the trusts that iwi have set up to manage.
Well, I think they
resources
describe them in
and
the
for settlement.
documents as Maori-facing organisations.
Yeah, so
You've done the right thing. You've insulated your ceiling. You've insulated your underfloor. But you're still cold. Best you finish the job. And to match your walls.